Hello and welcome. On September 2nd, 2023, Pete Homer, Natty Homer, and Zoe Homer, and your friend and mine, Jan Mandala, sat down with Tom Lopez, the genius writer, producer, and director behind the Fourth Tower of Inverness, Moon over Morocco, Jack Flanders' Adventures, and other radio plays that have inspired us since the early days of the peace and love movement. Mr. Lopez was gracious enough to set us down in his beautiful mansion on the Hudson River and delighted us for 3 hours with great tales from his life. Thank you, Tom. It was a wonderful experience, and I hope you enjoy it. Thanks for tuning in and listening to this excellent retrospective by Mr. Tom Lopez. Enjoy.
Technical and stuff.
He's getting weird.
Again.
Place to, because I had no idea what it, I sort of left Berkeley, and I decided that.
Did you go straight from Berkeley to London?
Yeah. Well, I mean, stopped at my parents' place back at.
Stopped in Michigan for a little, yeah.
And then what's interesting, then a few years later, Karen Grassley was a Little House on the Prairie, and she played the mother.
Oh, yeah.
And for years, she was blonde,
Yeah.
And, so I said, well, that's an interesting. But I was there, also going to Lambda, was Laura Esterman. And I watched Laura performing on the stage, and I thought, oh my God, she's good,
Yeah.
And she's really stood out, and then later, reconnected, with the Fourth Tower of Inverness. But so when I was there, I met Yoko Ono. Now,
In London?
No, Yoko Ono. She and her husband. This was about 2 years before John Lennon. She met John Lennon.
Nam June Pike days?
What?
Nam June Pike days? From Fluxus?
Were they together?
I thought so.
That
Tony
that
Cox
was
her husband.
Was he? I don't think he was in London.
He was in Fluxus though.
He what?
He was in Fluxus.
The art movement.
The art movement.
Right.
Yeah.
That whole what was going on in New York. What happened with Yoko, they were doing a concert. She and her husband was these little pieces, for
Cut piece and whatnot. Sure.
People would come up and cut.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
And I
Great
said,
stuff.
can I record this?
Happenings.
And they said, yeah. So I wondered about people cutting. I put the microphone right where the
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
Is that why we have the great footage of some of that?
There's what?
Well, there's video footage of her doing that piece.
Yeah, that was at the time. She was little known.
Yeah.
So it was the only people that were more hip to.
Yeah.
So meaning, I was the only one there, as far as I know, reporting on it.
Yeah.
And it was because I had done some theater pieces for KPFA in Berkeley, and public station, or non-commercial station. And I was doing this, I decided to do this piece for Berkeley.
So when John and Yoko showed up here in the late 70s, you already knew them. You already knew Yoko from the early days.
So what happened? She and her husband had no money even to get back to New York. They'd come over there expecting to do something, and there wasn't any money. Nobody, and it happened to be in the winter time or something. So then Yoko said, she had an idea for a piece, and it was called Bottoms. Now, Bottoms were promoted as 365 bare bottoms walking. Actually, it was 180, but it was a 90-minute film.
Yeah.
Okay. And what it was there was a turnstile in a little room that her husband handled the camera. And so people would drop their pants, you know, and walk, and the camera would be behind them. And so what you would see would be like cheek to cheek, leg to leg, and a line there and a line there, the bottom of the, you know. And that's it, all flesh is what it was. There was nothing that was a turn on about it, by the way.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
you know,
That wasn't the point.
sometimes you might see a little pubic hair, but
Yeah.
that wouldn't be right. And you know, big bottoms, you pull the camera back. So a little kid or something, you'd be up close. So every 15 seconds, about every 15 seconds, it would cut to a different bottom. Now, it was, you know, and so to put the word out that they were, you know, doing, I don't know if they called it rehearsals or something like, not rehearsals, but you know, they wanted actors and so on, or anyone who would, and people would show up, and some people were offended because they were actors and they were, you know,
Like,
and other people, there was no money in it, and other people would say, oh sure, what the hell.
Is your butt in it?
Huh?
Is your butt in it?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
There's a wonderful whimsy about her work. I just love it. There's a wonderful whimsy about her and her work, and what a wonderful person.
So so I would interview people, interview in the sense of ask them why they did it, why they wouldn't do it, whatever.
Cool.
And so about every didn't coordinate with it, but about every 15 seconds it would then go to somebody else, and then it might go back to the other person. And people usually say interesting things in a short little space of time, so you could cut it, you know, and there was enough people saying enough interesting things. Well, then we had to at the time, and I was staying with her, and what they had was a barren apartment.
Yeah.
You know, when I say barren, I mean bare. There's no furniture, anything. And there was a couple of cots, you know, so I was sleeping on one of these fold-out military cots, you know, which just has a canvas.
Yeah.
Right. And you know, and we had to get permission to show the film in London. That they had their film censors board, and we only had the one copy, by the way. And so Tony dropped it off, and within a matter of about 3 or 4 hours, they said, "Come and take this film immediately.
Get it away from us.
We want it out of here." The critics. Or
Yeah.
the London.
Were there not spaces that it was all right to show it in, or were you trying to get it into spaces
No, it was just. You'll see in films, earlier films done in London, you'll see, and you can start to notice because it's still there. It'll say approved by the Film Censors Board, and meaning all films, American, anything, had to be approved.
even small independent films?
Any film,
Interesting.
any film.
So they considered
Big
bottoms.
Hollywood, London had their own Film Censors Board.
Wow. Could you show it outside of London? And
Possibly,
yeah.
but obviously, if you get it there, then you get other places.
The board considered it obscene?
Huh?
Did they consider it obscene?
Yeah,
Wow.
Wow.
and it wasn't.
Yeah.
And so, but
Right.
get this, why Yoko's, by the way, one of those smartest people I've ever met. She really is. She's really sharp. Now, and so anyway, Tony and I, you know, her husband, we ran down there, picked up the film, so it was the only copy, and he was afraid that they might just
Confiscate it or
because they could see that, you know.
Right.
Did Yoko, now, a couple of guys who came there and dropped their pants were both film directors for film producers for ITV. Now, London had, at the time, you had BBC One and BBC Two, in terms of talking about television. BBC Two came out in the afternoon, and it was sort of more artsy. Yeah, independent
ITC.
ITV, I guess. I
okay.
don't. Independent television, which
Right.
had commercials. Now these guys worked for them. Yoko contacted them and told them what happened, and they said, "Okay, give us 10 minutes of your best asses. 10 minutes of some of your most intelligent comments, and don't give us the one." There was somebody had a wicker chair pattern. And there were no wicker chair pattern. And we could never figure out how that happened. So on a Saturday afternoon, like at 1 o'clock, they interviewed Yoko on ITV, and they played 10 minutes of the film.
How long was
On
the original?
television.
Wow.
And it went out nationally.
Wow.
Across England, because they were big. And then the Film Census Board reversed their comments. Because you can imagine the publicity.
Yeah.
It shows on television in the afternoon, and it can't show in the films.
Wow,
So-
that's great.
So then she was able to get it was actually a little theater that normally showed porno films. So no other theater really wanted it.
Yeah, I want my money back.
And it was a big to do, and people arrived, and it was filmed. I think they gave it away for free, or the first showing anyway.
Amazing.
How long was the original run time?
90-minute film.
90 minutes.
90
Oh, right,
minutes.
you said that earlier. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what happened then was that I'm sort of going on about this, but I'm trying to.
It's fascinating. No, it's great
But
stuff.
What happened then was that because of and Yoko was the only thing happening in London at the time, and it wasn't my opinion. It was just other people that showed up was saying that it was winter time, and so she was able to raise money to then do a regular. She wanted to do a documentary. Now, and this was
Sorry.
the Catholic Church was giving to the Greek Orthodox Church a thigh bone from, I think it was Saint Augustine was his name.
Okay.
And I'm not quite sure. It could be. It doesn't matter. And so we flew to Venice, and because it was in St. Mark's Cathedral, and they had a separate room just for the saint, and they had the thigh bone there.
Wow.
And so